You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
Hello, music lovers. Welcome to Modern Musicology. Hopefully, you're all still listening to us after our last episode, which got a little off the rails. But if you are, then my name is Alan, and joining us tonight are Stephanie Seymour.
Hello, everyone.
And Rob Levy.
Hello.
And unfortunately, Anthony is not with us tonight. He is under the weather, and I'll be having to cover some of the things that we're going to be talking about. He wanted to talk about. So before we get started on our topic, which is the music from the year 1976, we have a couple of orders of business to take care of. And first of all, this past week, we've had a fairly big loss in the music world. And that is something that Rob is going to take us through. So Rob, go ahead.
Yeah, so Neil Sedaka died, and you might be saying, I don't know who a Neil Sedaka is, but you probably do, but don't realize it. But for our generation and the generation before us, just a prolifically huge songwriter and performer. He was sort of like one of those people that wore the dual hats. Did go to the Juilliard to study music, and he was one of the songwriters at the infamous Brill Building in New York. That Brill Building class of songwriters who just cranked out hits for everybody.
Yeah.
But amongst his big hits are Calendar Girl, Laughter in the Rain, The Immigrant, and Breaking Up Is Hard to Do, which is the one I think everyone kind of knows. But he's also famous as a songwriter. He wrote Ring Ring, ABBA's debut single. He wrote Solitaire by the Carpenters. And most importantly, he is responsible for inflicting Love Will Keep Us Together on the world. But just a huge prolific songwriter and performer. Did a ton of the variety show circuit back when they did those, like Sonny and Cher and Carol Burnett. And so he was kind of in that school of like entertainers that did the singing, the songwriting, the performing, and the TV and the music, and just
like all around show business guy.
All about show business, kind of like a throwback to sort of like, the post-vaudeville kind of thing. But he wrote pop music, right? A lot of that like sugar gummy pop stuff that transitioned out of the 50s and into the 60s, he wrote. And just a huge influence on a lot of songwriters today. Huge influence on like Tony Bennett and some other people as well. So we at least want to talk about that because we've got a lot of these like really amazing people that are part of the American songbook that we're losing, and they're not really being remembered. And it's kind of a bummer.
And he recorded two different versions of Breaking Up Is Hard to Do, right?
Yeah.
One that was kind of an up-tempo poppy kind of thing. And then later on, like in the 70s, and that was like I think 60, it was early 60s. Yeah. And then in the 70s, he did it again.
75. Yeah.
When as like a slow ballady kind of thing.
Oh man, I don't know that one.
Super interesting reworking of a previous song. And it's funny because it starts with like you're listening on a transistor radio of that original version from 62. And then it goes into the piano ballad version of it, which is so he had a hit with it twice, which is crazy.
Very cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. So sorry to see Mr. Sedaka go, but he was a huge figure in 60s, 70s music landscape. So very sad. And then from our last episode, which was about the Super Bowl halftime shows, we did not get as much listener feedback as I thought we were going to, but we did get a couple of good ones. So Stephanie, why don't you take us through those?
Okay. From my my Facebook page, Tony Bauer says, great episode. I've listened to it 3 times, which thank you, Tony. That's very cool.
Crazy.
He says, you guys totally rock, but especially you and Anthony. And for the listener who hasn't listened to this yet, because I know you're going to go back and listen to the halftime episode, Anthony and I went a little bit off the rails more than the other guys.
Yeah.
But it was fun.
Yeah.
And in response to that too, we did get some feedback also, like no politics mixed with music. But my response to that is, well, almost every band you listen to has some politics in them, starting from way back to.
Even go back to Jesse Smith.
Oh, you can go back to,
or Bessie Smith, Bessie, blues.
I was thinking
and,
about, I was thinking even about like, songs like Chain Gang songs and things like this that people, but Bob Dylan, Bruce Springsteen, every punk rock band you've ever heard, like Alan mentioned,
Billie Holiday.
U2. Yeah. Like, I mean, it's
Oh
just,
God, Billie Holiday. Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bessie Smith.
Yeah. So,
just tons of.
Yeah.
You listen to old blues records and like you said, the Chain Gang records, and even some of the early country stuff as well.
Sure.
Some of the
Woody
stuff
Guthrie.
some of the stuff, Phil Oakes stuff written during the Dust Bowl.
I'd be hard pressed to say politics and music, don't mix.
I think we need to do a whole show about politics songs.
There we go.
Political songs.
I love it.
I could go on for hours about Shostakovich writing, compositions.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, So there we go.
And Alan, what was your you were going to say even the
Indigo Girls.
Yeah, there you go.
They've done quite a bit of that kind of thing.
Yeah.
We were saying last week when we recorded it that it was going to be a good show, and it has ended up being that. Like, it has already accrued more listens than the episode prior to that, which is 3 weeks ago. So it's already outpaced its, so it's doing well, and people are, maybe everybody's listening to it 3 times like Tony Bowers did. Who knows? But thanks everybody for listening, and for the folks who gave us some comments on that. We really appreciate it. And if you would like to send us a message, you can contact us at modernmusicology1@gmail.com, or you can just comment on our socials wherever you see our stuff posted. All right. Now it is time to turn the clocks back 50 years.
Way back.
We are now in the year 1976. We're going to be talking about some of the stuff that, if you were around in 1976, like I was, then here's some of the stuff that you would have heard on the radio or coming out of the record store or whatever. And usually when we do these type of shows, there's a couple of things that we don't do. We don't normally do greatest hits packages, because that it's just recycled stuff. And we don't normally do live albums. But to get us started on our discussion tonight, I'm going to talk about one that came at the very beginning of the year, January 15th, because if you're going to talk about 1976 and you don't talk about Frampton Comes Alive, then you're not doing your job right. Yeah. That was a massive record. And let's just say that Mr. Frampton had not had very much success with his first 4 solo albums. His fourth one did a little bit better than the other ones, but for the most part, he just wasn't making waves. So it makes no sense at all that his live album would blow up the way that it did. But boy, it did. And it became one of the best-selling albums of all time, and certainly one of the best-selling live albums of all time, and generated 4 big hit singles. And it's just a fantastic album. At the time, the ability to record a live show, technically speaking, was a little bit limited. And you get, I don't know, some of the live albums from that era have very different sound qualities. But Frampton Comes Alive sounds amazing. It sounds absolutely pristine. It sounds like you are right there in the room with them. And I have loved this album ever since 1976, when I was hearing some of these songs on the radio. Show Me the Way was a huge one. And of course, the biggie, which was Do You Feel Like We Do? An edited version, because the full thing is 14 and a half minutes long. And there was an edited version that became a hit. But still, even with that, some of the top 40 stations late at night would still play the 14 and a half minute version, because I remember going on a fishing trip with my dad in a white van. I know that sounds sort of creepy, but we were in a van and the whole thing was playing. And I don't know that I'd ever heard the whole version before that moment, but I was just kind of like fascinated by the whole thing. And I did not understand the whole talk box thing. And I'm like, what is that?
Right.
Because it didn't sound like a guitar to me. And I'm like, what is he doing that it makes it sound something like words? Like, what is that?
Yeah,
And
unless you see, I mean, just think there really was no visuals then. There was no real video
yeah,
channel or anything. So you just were like kind of dumbfounded, like, what is that? You know?
yeah. And Baby, I Love Your Way was a biggie. And Show Me the Way was a single that was released from his previous album, the fourth solo album, that did not become a hit. So why would it become a hit now? It's just so crazy, this whole story. And of course, this is the thing that gets him in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame 50 years later. But man, what a pile driver of an album.
It's one of the first records I remember sort of being around. I was 8. No.
7.
Yeah, I was 7 or 8
because I was 9, I think.
Yeah, I was 8. So
or I was at 10 maybe. I don't know.
I remember my sisters going to Peach's Records to buy this thing and then fighting over who owned it because they both saved up for it. And I just remember hearing it all the time. I had no idea who Peter Frampton was. I had no idea sort of the context of it or anything. I just know that I heard this record, I think, every day for 6 or 7 months.
Yeah.
And it was sort of like the genesis for me of like, wow, rock stars are kind of a big deal, sort of in the back of my head. And I remember my sisters snuck out of the house one night to go see him because he played at Southern Illinois University across the river from St. Louis. And my sisters snuck out of the house, and then they snuck in my window coming back in from seeing the show after curfew. And that's the first time I learned about certain substances that people take at concerts, as well as like the whole live concert experience. And so this record sort of strikes a chord with me too, because it's like, it was such a big deal. And it was literally everywhere.
It's interesting because you guys knew it so well. And for me, I just remember hearing the songs on the radio and not even knowing a thing about it. You know, not how I didn't know until years later who he was and what this album was. Like, it just didn't register for me. It was just like another FM radio song or two that I heard, you know? And
I will say, I don't remember when it was that I actually bought the album. I know it wasn't at the time, like I didn't like hear a song and immediately run out and buy the record. I heard all these singles on the radio, and I don't know when it was that I was inspired to at some point go and buy it. But once I did, I latched onto it.
Yeah.
So I think that, everybody knows the big singles from this album, and there's a lot of other great tracks that I think should be featured. And I can't decide which one. I think when we put out our Spotify playlist that will go along with this episode, it'll either include the opening track, Something's Happening, because that's my favorite song from this album, or it'll include Doobie Wah, which is such a funky little tune, and it's so fun. So one of those two is going to be on that playlist, and you're going to love it.
Or that could be your exception where you make 2 of them for that album because it was the hugest album of the year. So
that's good justification, Stephanie, and maybe I'll do that. Oh my gosh. So who's got something to follow up that?
I would love to jump. It's something that came out in April of this year, but it's like the antithesis of Peter Frampton. So this is the debut album by the Ramones.
I knew that's where you were going.
Because I mean, when I think of like 70s excess and then I think of 70s punk, it's just, it's such a radical shift. Obviously, the Ramones and every other punk band were sort of like rebelling against the status quo, 14-minute songs. Every song on this Ramones album is under 2 minutes and 35 seconds. The longest song on it is I Don't Want to Go Down to the Basement, which is 2:35, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is an absolutely influential album to not just other punk bands that came along after them, but grunge, rock bands, metal. There are so many people that the Ramones influenced. And there's so many cool songs on this album. Blitzkrieg Bop, I Want to Be Your Boyfriend, Let's Dance, Judy is a Punk.
Yeah.
And Beat on the Brat, which incidentally is the second longest song on the album, which is 2 minutes and 30 seconds. This is fantastic. I just want to say that it took 7 days to make, $6,400 to make. And the album cover photo shoot, that iconic album cover, it was $125 for that,
Yep.
which is like the most imitated album cover of all of, well, maybe not the most,
Yeah.
but one of the most of all time.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So,
But I think the thing too about that record is, if you want to explain to someone what New York was like in 76 and the music coming out of New York in 76 was, that's kind of a good starting point.
yeah.
Or if you just sort of have to pick one, because one of the things that's really fascinating about 1976 is like, man, New York's got it going on, because you've got the whole rise. We'll talk about this a little later. You got the rise of disco and stuff, but you've got all these bands coming out of New York.
Yeah.
That
Blondie,
are just
Talking Heads, everything. Yeah.
Yeah, it's impressive and amazing all at the same time. Too,
And
so
one of my favorite punk bands of all time, Generation X, they're from the UK. I have a great quote from Tony James, who was in that band. He said, when their album came out, meaning when the Ramones album came out, he said, all the English groups tripled speed overnight. He said 2-minute long songs very fast. And he said, everybody went up 3 gears the day that they got their first Ramones album. And it's so true.
Yeah.
Change the landscape.
I love that album. And I love that it is really short, punch you in the face songs. There's no need to waste time, waste words. If you've got something to say, you just say it and you're done.
Yep.
And it's direct and to the point, and it's so good.
Yeah.
Man,
cutting away all the fat, basically, and just leaving,
And it's unlike anything else either. It really is sort of this landmark moment in music where people are like, what is this?
Yep.
How is this happening?
Yeah.
It's so much to so many people. And it's interesting too, because it's a really great context we've set, because both this and Frampton Comes Alive have kind of become the two records from that year that, like, people like Jack White and Dave Grohl and all these people now that are around, people from the Strokes and things, have taken as sort of like essential records in their collection. And here we are talking about them 50 years later.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, I will start, just to kind of mix it up a little bit. I'm going to go with the 13th album from Mr. Marvin Gaye, called I Want You, which when it came out was not necessarily seen as a big hit, because he was moving away from Motown into sort of a more, not pure disco, not pure funk, but a disco funk kind of thing. So he changed his sound a little bit. It's got a couple great things on it, like, After the Dance and I Want You, and Since I Had You is amazing. I Want to Be Where You Are is sort of like this first sort of like the idea of like the slow soul jam kind of thing happens with this record. And so you see Gaye sort of switching tempos and gears. You see him more confident. He's coming off of what's going on, and he can do whatever he wants. But as an artist, it's interesting because the album, and specifically the song As I Want You, is about Janice Hunter, which is interesting because he's married to Anna Gordy, the daughter of Berry Gordy, but he has a serious affair with Janice Hunter, and who eventually would have two of his kids. And he's torn. He doesn't know where he wants to go musically. His home life's kind of a mess. And this is Marvin Gaye at a turning point, but he's still Marvin Gaye. And this is probably the best soul record of that year. So that's where I'm at.
Nice. I don't know much about that record, to be honest, and I'm going to have to now check it out since it was one of your picks.
I don't either.
The cover is also iconic too of it, because it sort of ties in with the whole Afro soul movement as well.
What's the one song on it that people should hear?
I Want You.
Okay, duly noted. I'm going to get back to some good old hard rock.
Okay.
Because this is still the era where hard rock is still in play,
Very much so.
It kind of dies off once you get into the 80s a little bit. But this is a year where we get, because when Kiss began, they were literally putting out 2 albums a year. And they followed up. They had finally had a big success the previous year with Kiss Alive, their first live album. And it kind of blew up the same way, not to the same extent, but the same way that Frampton Comes Alive did. And that sort of finally put them on the map after 3 albums. So they follow that up with something completely unexpected. They do this very sort of stylistic rock album with an orchestra and choirs and piano and all this stuff that you would never expect, having already heard those first 3 albums, and especially that first live album. And it's called Destroyer. And
Mhm.
it is a great record. It is one of the classic Kiss albums, and it has the big single off of it was Beth, which was, if I remember correctly, the 11th most successful song of that year. This is all based on Casey Kasem, because I remember listening to his year-end wrap-up, like New Year's Eve, and he's like counting down the top 100 songs of this past year, and Beth came in at number 11. So,
Wow.
yeah, not quite top 10, but almost there.
Huh.
And then later in the year, in November, Rock and Roll Over, which was a bit more straightforward rock album. It wasn't as overproduced and operatic as Destroyer was, but they're both really good records. But the one that I really want to talk about is Aerosmith, who put out Rocks.
Yes, I love that album.
Holy crap.
I do love this album so much.
Yes. And this is at a point where Aerosmith is really firing, like every cylinder is firing, and they are sort of the epitome of American rock. There is no other American rock band that can touch what they're doing at this point. And this album is just like every track is a pile driver.
Yeah, this almost made my list too. Yes,
oh, yeah?
I'm so glad you picked it. Yeah.
Yeah. And it has got Back in the Saddle, which I don't think was released as a single, but has become one of the iconic Aerosmith songs. And Last Child.
Talk about Back in the Saddle for a second, though. Just think of that opening of like the first bars of it, and how that smashes into that song. And it's just like that, the opener of that album. What a perfect opener for an album.
Yeah, it's so good. And I think the one that I'm gonna, I guess, feature on our playlist is Sick as a Dog.
Oh, yeah.
That might be my favorite song on the album, even though like Last Child, I really like a lot, but I like it better live. And a lot of these songs sound better live. They were one of the best live bands happening at the time. And I don't remember what year it was, 1980, maybe. They put out an album called Live Bootleg. That is the definitive Aerosmith album for me. Okay. And there are some versions of the really well-known songs on that live record that is the version. That is the definitive version for me. Mm-hmm. And Last Child, I think, works so much better as a live track. Sick as a Dog does too, but Sick as a Dog here is just great. And this whole record is solid top to bottom.
Yep.
Just a killer record.
Oh, cool. I'm so glad that was your pick. Yay.
So good.
All right. Speaking of live albums, because you just mentioned that album, the 1980 album, and then you started off with the live album. I'm going to go with another live album from this year that was released in April, which was Elton John's Here and There, which to me is one of the best live albums ever, ever, ever. Every song, first of all, it was recorded there was two concerts recorded for this album. One was at the Royal Festival Hall in London, which was in May of 1974. And then the other was recorded at Madison Square Garden in New York in November of 1974. And that was the concert, by the way, where John Lennon came out with Elton John to play. Mm-hmm. It's like there are just the best versions of all of his most amazing songs on this. And I just want you to put on the playlist pretty please for the playlist. It's the first song on the album. It's called Skyline Pigeon, the best version ever. It's so perfect. You're going to have to cut like about 2 minutes off the beginning, because you literally hear the crowd. It's so cool. You hear the crowd like getting ready for the and then he comes out and he like addresses the Queen and everything. It's pretty cool. Or cool. He says Your Majesty or whatever. Anyway, so great. The side two, which is the Madison Square Garden. Yeah. The Funeral for a Friend Into Love Lies Bleeding is unbelievable that they create that, that amazing soundscape that they have on the properly recorded album. They just do it like it's, nothing. I mean, it's incredible. The whole album is great. Benny and the Jets, what a great version of it. Take Me to the Pilot. I mean, you have to listen to this album if you haven't.
Take Me to the Pilot is one of my favorite Elton songs.
Oh, yeah. So good. So good.
Mm,
Just everything. This is like a perfect, cool live album. So yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Man, I've got a live album that I'm going to talk about later in the show.
Me
So
too.
this is a year for live albums, apparently. We should also mention that Elton has a big single this year, and that is the song with he and Kiki D.
Oh,
Yep.
yes.
That came out in '76, and man, I know it's cheesy as fuck, but I love that song.
Yeah, I do too. It actually is really good. It's called, if for anyone who does not know it, for some reason, strange reason, it's called "Don't Go Breaking My Heart."
Okay, Stephanie, I'm Elton. You're Kiki.
Okay.
Don't go breaking my heart.
I won't go breaking your heart.
Don't go breaking my. Okay.
Won't go
enough.
breaking my.
Before they sue us and make us pay royalties.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Oh man, I mean, he was into some really cheesy stuff at this point, like Crocodile Rock and stuff, but I just love it.
Which is also on the live album. But
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yeah.
Let's get weird. All right, let's do it.
We are weird anyway.
No, so the third Reich and Roll is the second studio album from the Residents. I would love to tell you who's in the Residents, but nobody really knows. We have theories, but nobody really knows, right? And in case you don't know who the Residents are, they're basically people that wear giant eyeball outfits and play music. They're just weird and great. You do not get things like Oingo Boingo without the Residents, right? You don't get sort of Negative Land and sort of fringy stuff like that. They're sort of walking the line between the avant-garde and punk and new wave, right? They sort of embody this, like, art students, like the people that are going to art school that are in Talking Heads later, they know about the Residents and things like that. So they're very influential for a lot of these people coming later in the decade, in the early 80s. But this is their second album. It's got 2 massively long songs on it about Hitler, which we don't really need to talk about because we did enough of that last week. Satisfaction's the one that I think I would start with listening to because it's just so goofy and weird. So yeah, I just wanted to put them on this list because it's just, this is a year, as much as there's so much happening, it's also a year when musicians are really starting to experiment more than they have been before.
Yeah.
And you're really starting to see it. It doesn't necessarily fully manifest in 76, but it's coming. And just the Residents were just weird. They're kind of like the Yang to Kiss, and that, Kiss has a very sort of amazingly profound visual experience for the people that see them. It's like in your face and it's loud. And the Residents is just like WTF, it's got a visual presence too, but it's just like, what? So it's a very interesting time for music in terms of presentation as well as sonics. So yeah, that's mine.
All right. So Rob, you just did the Residents. So Alan, do you have something then?
I've got so many things.
I got a bunch of things too, still. So
all right. I guess I could talk about Jefferson's Starship.
Okay.
Because they're at a weird period where, they've come out of the Jefferson Airplane era and have sort of morphed into Jefferson Starship. And they're coming toward the end of that. There's like basically 2 big phases of Jefferson Starship. And Spitfire is an album that came out in 76, and it had some singles on it. St. Charles is one. It's a 7-minute song, and there's an edited version of it that was released as a single that it did moderately okay, but I think this is a great record. And Dance with the Dragon is my favorite track. Well, maybe, because there's another one that's like a suite of related movements called Ozymandias, which is so cool. And this was at a time when Grace, I don't know, I usually love the Grace Slick songs on any Jefferson album, but the 2 that are on here are not her best. These are some of the weaker Grace songs. So I feel like Paul Kantner is the one that's really carrying the band at this point, because at this point when Marty Ballin is in the band and they're having lots of hits with all of his fucking love songs and stuff, oh my gosh, I get so tired of it. So in 78ish, when Marty Ballin leaves and they go through a lineup change and they get more into the rock side, I start to really love it. But this is sort of in that, I don't know, at this period, Jefferson Starship has kind of a yacht rock kind of sound. Blah. But this is still a pretty good record for that period. And I think I don't know. I think I'll put the Ozymandias suite on there because it's super cool.
Okay.
So I don't know.
Cool.
Just a story to tell. I don't know.
That's good. I don't really know. I don't know much about that band, so I can't really comment, I guess. But I mean, I know them, but I just don't, it's not like
they have a weird history.
Yeah.
Of name changes and people in the band. And then they do records with whoever shows up and they don't call it any band name. And it's just crazy.
Right.
So, man, I should do a whole episode just on the history of the Jefferson family.
Yeah, that would be wild because there is a lot. All right, I'm gonna my next pick is maybe not a punk rocker, but I think he's got like more of a punk rock attitude than any punk rocker, and that's Tom Petty. So this is the first Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers album released in November of this year.
Yeah.
Wow, this is some debut, I think. I mean, arguably their signature song for all time is on this album, which is American Girl. Although I can't really hear that song now without thinking of The Silence of the Lambs. Did you guys see that movie?
I don't remember that song being in it, but it's been 800 years since I've seen it. It's in the first
like scene where she's driving the car down the road and she's like singing American Girl and she's about to get kidnapped and yeah. Anyway, so there's great songs on this. I love Breakdown. Also, that was actually the first single that was released. But it didn't really have much of an impact when it was first released here. No. It had more of one in the UK because they had just finished a tour there, and their album went to like it was, what is it, number 24 on the album charts there. But it took a couple years for it to kind of achieve gold record status here in 78. So that was like 2 years after it was released. But I think this is sort of like a classic record now.
Yeah. I really love it, even though I don't think it is like, I don't think that they really solidify that classic Heartbreaker sound until the third album. I agree. Damn the Torpedoes is the perfect Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers album.
100%.
But this one is really good. I really love the first track, Rockin' Around With You.
Mm-hmm.
That's such a fun song. But American Girl is the like early statement of this is what this band is going to be about. But there's a lot of other great stuff too. Wild One Forever is great.
Luna.
Mystery Man.
Yeah, I know they are great. I think Bob saw this tour, by the way. I think he saw them, or it was like 77 that he might have seen them. It was like the Capitol Theater in Jersey. Like he saw them really small venue.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
I know.
Yeah, that's a great one.
He's very missed. Let's put it that way. We love him. We missed him.
Coming from Central Florida as I do, and coming from Gainesville, Florida as the Heartbreakers do.
Yeah.
Our local radio was eat up with Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.
Yeah.
Like once they started to really hit, that and Leonard Skinner was all we fucking heard.
Huh.
And that's not two bands that I would really think of together, but man, our local radio was like super proud of our Florida bands.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to jump back in time like the rest of you, and I'll take Lou Reed for the block. No. I'm going to talk about Coney Island Baby, which is Lou Reed's sixth album. And it's interesting because the whole record is kind of a love letter to his girlfriend at the time named Rachel. And it's interesting because when you say Coney Island Baby, it's not necessarily an album about Coney Island. It's about a girl and Coney Island, right? And it's got probably all the songs that are on it are really, really rhythmically and sort of lyrically and melodically interesting. But I think that She's My Best Friend and Charlie's Girl are both really great. And it's a fascinating record because, he made this record the same time as, a lot of his contemporaries, like Bowie's making music, Bryan Ferry's making music. And it's kind of different in that it's sweet and it's very AM radio for Lou Reed, right? It's got this like sort of sense of like beauty and tranquility and calm to it that you don't see with like Transformer or some of the other stuff, right? And it's just a very, very sweet record. It's really nice. It's really solid. And, when it came out, it did okay. But I think that over time, it's sort of become considered to be one of his best records.
Nice. Well, let's take a quick break, shall we? We're going to take a 30-second break to feature an ad by one of the other shows on our network, and we will be right back to finish out 1976 because we got this whole second half of the year to go. So stick around.
There are a lot of great podcasts that review Doctor Who episodes in order. The Earth Station Who podcast is not one of them. Just like the Doctor, we never know where or when we'll end up, but we'll have a lot of fun talking about it. From classic Who to new series and big finish, join the Earth Station Who crew wherever fine podcasts are found. Earth Station Who is a founding member of the ESO network.
All right, we are back. I want to start off the second half with a very, very quick Prog report and this was something that Anthony was supposed to be doing with me on this show. So I'm sorry that he's not here, but I've got some songs that he would feature. So his presence will be noticeable on the playlist at least. So this is still a big time for Prog. And we've got a couple of things really important that's happening. And the first one is that Genesis has 2 albums this year. The first one is the first album with Phil Collins as the lead singer. And that is Peter Gabriel left the previous year after the Lamb Lies Down on Broadway tour. And they searched around for a lead singer and they auditioned all kinds of people. And Phil was like, a singer would come in and Phil would kind of teach them a part and then they would sing it. And eventually they were like, Phil, you know all the parts. Why don't you just do it? So that means that they had to hire a touring drummer when they went out on the road, but Phil did all the drums and all the vocals on the records from that point on. And the first one in February is called Trick of the Tail. And in December, right at the end of the year, The Wind and the Wuthering, which is also important because it's the last one to feature Steve Hackett as their lead guitar player. And then after that, they are reduced down to basically a 3-person core of the band is all that's left. And these albums are really good. This is a transitional period for them where they're sort of like leaving that Peter Gabriel prog rock sound. They still have a bit of a retain from that, but they're moving into a little bit more polished sound that they're going to pick up with from after all these other people leave. So it's an interesting period. And that we get both of these albums in the same year is really kind of crazy. In addition to that, we have Rush's big breakthrough album, 2112.
Oh my.
And yes. I would feature the title track from that, but it is an entire side long of an album. So we're not going to do that. I'll pick another track from it. Kansas, one of the true prog bands from America, puts out Leftoverture. And of course, everybody knows Carry On Wayward Son, which was a big like commercial breakthrough for them. Queen, Day at the Races, not a bad album at all. But the one that I really want to talk about is the first solo album by Jon Anderson, the lead singer of Yes. Yes is on a break at this point. They have just finished a big tour supporting an album called Relayer, and they're on a break because they're all like, oh my God, we've been touring nonstop for 7 years. We're just tired. So they all like step aside and they're all deciding, okay, well, let's just have a year and a half or something off and let's all go and just do whatever we want. If we want to make a solo album, that's fine. Jon Anderson comes up with this weird album called Olias of Sunhillow. And it is this incredibly bizarre. It's like a sci-fi epic of seafaring space elves, basically. It is so weird. It's sort of Tolkien-ish, but it isn't. And it's sort of sci-fi-ish, but it isn't. And it's basically a story about another planet and the 4 tribes of it's 4 tribes of people, but they're not like racial tribes. They're more like music theory tribes. Like they all have a different musical identity. It's so weird. And their planet is about to break up. So they have to find another home and they travel to a different, and it is bizarre. But it is great. And John plays every instrument and does all the vocals on the album. And he was never
Wow.
like really a strong instrumentalist. He always relied on the other Yes members. He would kind of like sort of tell them ideas that he has, but he would sort of sing them, and he would like try to get the guitars and the keyboards or whatever to do the parts that he has in his head. So now he's like devoting himself to, I'm going to play this whole thing. And he's, you know, not the most proficient musician, but he knows what he wants, and he knows enough that he can get, and he plays this incredible range of instruments.
Wow.
And he doesn't try to be Rick Wakeman on the keyboards or anything, but he gets the sound palette that he wants and to tell this story that he has in his head. And it's an amazing, amazing album.
Wow. That's so cool. He's like,
yes,
Prince, you know, playing everything on the album.
Exactly. Exactly. And that is the Prog Report for 1976.
Good Prog Report. Very nice. Yay. Well, I'm going to follow it up with someone who's super proggy too, believe it or not.
Oh, good.
And that is Billy Joel. I'm totally kidding. He's not
Oh,
proggy at
boy,
all.
yeah. Okay. I was like,
Alan
was there
was
a Prog album
excited.
that I missed?
Alan was so excited for just a second.
Yeah, but I know which one you're going to talk about, and it's a good one.
Okay, yes. Turnstiles.
Yeah.
Which is actually his fourth album. And he's got some bangers on here, man. Like Angry Young Man, Say Goodbye to Hollywood, New York. Oh, I love New York State of Mind. That's such a good song. You know, and this is something I learned in the movie, also the documentary, which is fantastic, and which we had a whole episode about. The song, this whole album actually was recorded sort of as he was, you know, leaving LA, like Say Goodbye to Hollywood, and coming back to New York. So he started recording this album in Colorado at the Caribou Ranch, which is where Elton John recorded Caribou. And he was recording with Nigel Olsson and Dee Murray from Elton's band, and didn't like the way it was coming out, didn't like the producer. So he scrapped the whole thing, moved back to New York, became the producer of the album. And actually, this is the first album of his that featured his actual touring band. So although this album kind of there's a lot of different styles on this album, I think, but his band kind of makes it all work together, like cohesive. Yeah. And I love this album. Yeah.
I do too.
Yeah.
Angry Young Man is probably my favorite Billy Joel song.
Great song.
Oh my gosh.
You could put that on the playlist.
The one time that I saw Billy live, that was how they opened the show.
Wow.
Oh man, it was killer.
Nice. Yeah. I love that. But I don't know. It's hard for me to pick my favorite song on this, but I know it's kind of cliche, but New York State of Mind. Oh, it's so beautiful.
It's a great one.
So beautiful. There's so many really cool chord changes in there and like weird melodic things that he does. I just love that song.
Yeah.
Really great vocal performance on it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
And I think you see him actually more so than before becoming just really comfortable.
Yeah.
Sort of doing it on his own, right? He's like, I'm going to do records my own way. And I think you can hear that in those songs.
Oh, definitely. Because like he was, you know, the record companies were really had him under their thumb in a way before that, like wouldn't let him use his own band, you know, so he really kind of started breaking away at that point. Yeah.
I'll tell you, another really good one that I'd love is Miami 2017.
Oh, yeah. That's a great song. Yeah,
it is.
Fantastic. Yep.
I mean, there aren't very many bad Billy Joel albums.
Yeah.
Especially since from this period, just pick an album and drop the needle at the beginning and just let it play. And you're going to have a great experience with it.
Yeah. When you said that song, it's weird because I was hearing in my head, I seen the lights go out on Broadway. So that's weird.
I thought I'd sort of follow Alan's sort of lead and just give a Glam report and lump a couple things together.
Yeah.
Yes.
We kind of now Kiss kind of falls into that to a certain extent.
Yeah.
So we kind of already touched upon some of this, but this is like a sort of a banner year for a lot of that, right? In many ways, it's sort of like the last big, like thunderous, where a lot of the people involved in that movement are all making records at the same time. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to start with Station to Station by David Bowie.
Who?
This guy named David Bowie. You may have heard of him. You should listen to him. You might like him a little.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe.
Yeah. It's his 10th album. What's great about it, a couple things. Earl Slick's on it, and his work's great on it. Carlos Alomar's on it. It's fantastic. You know, if you have to pick one song that everyone might remember from it, it's Golden Years.
Yeah.
Right? It's kind of the one everyone knows. TVC 15 is sort of, if you want to go like a deep dive into it, go with that one. So those are the two ends of the spectrum for you. But, you know, at this point, Bowie's like just fried in LA. He's like coked out of his mind. Iggy Pop's in rehab. He's burned a lot of bridges because of his drug addiction. You know, he's not friends with John Lennon anymore. There's lots of things going on for him with this record, but it really comes together in an interesting way. And this is one of those Bowie records that people appreciate much more now than they did then. It's sort of like the transitional record from Ziggy to Berlin. That's sort of like the best way to sort of describe it. And it's Bowie making a record that he wants to make. It's Bowie sort of doing all the Bowie things that we love with him. He's experimenting, you know. It's not 3 or 4 minute pop songs, but there's also long songs, and it's very interesting. And sort of the way the songs are tracked, I think, is interesting about it too. Is the way that they run in an order. I think that's pretty interesting about it too. So while not, you know, up there with some of the other Bowie records in terms of what everybody knows and loves, it certainly is a record that if you have not listened to it in a while, you should investigate, because it's pretty fantastic.
I think it's one of those perfect from start to finish records.
But it's not a commercial record,
and it's only got 6 songs.
Yeah.
Because they're all kind of lengthy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's great.
And I love the fact that they're lengthy and sprawling. I think it works really well.
Yeah.
We talked about live records before, and Roxy Music releases Viva Roxy Music. It's a live album recorded in 3 different venues throughout London in 1975. If you sort of want to have a document of what Roxy Music sounded like at their peak live, this is all you got, but it's great. And sort of piggybacking off of that is Bryan Ferry's first album, These Foolish Things. Tony Visconti, you know, and Bowie and those people obviously have effect on Bryan Ferry musically, because you can hear it in the production, you can hear it in the song selection. He does covers. The whole album is covers, which is great. He does a Dylan cover, you know, he's got Hard Rain's Gonna Fall on there. His cover of It's My Party is pretty fantastic. And, you know, if anybody's going to sort of set out in 1975, 76 and 75 and have their own unique voice, nobody really sounds like Bryan Ferry. That voice, and even now, you know, that voice is just like, you hear it and you're like, that's Bryan Ferry.
Yeah.
And he really cashes in on that with this record of covers, and it's a huge success for him. And then also T-Rex, the only album that was called Mark Bolan and T-Rex is Zinc Alloy and the Hidden Writers of Tomorrow, which has got some interesting help on it. Visconti helps him out on it. Teenage Dreams, probably the song that you want to sort of keep from that one. And Interstellar Soul's pretty good, but you know, this is again Mark Bolan sort of doing Mark Bolan things. It's parts of it are kind of uneven in terms of the song order, but that doesn't mean they're not good songs. It just, in the same way that Station to Station works because every song goes into each other, this one's a little more jagged and scattershot, but it's still fantastic. And it's not, you know, we do want to say it's probably not the best work of T-Rex, but it's certainly shows you where T-Rex was probably going to be going had not he died so young.
Mm-hmm.
I think we also had a record by The Sweet that year as well, but I completely forgot about it. So that is the Glam report for today.
Can I add one thing to your Glam report that I think it's like weird, because I think it kind of fits, but it's also a little punky, and it's the Runaways debut.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out where to put that.
Yeah.
Where to put that too. Yeah.
Because, you know, if you think about it, like Joan Jett from like 1972 on was hanging out in that downtown LA scene, and that whole thing was like glam to the hilt, you know, in like 72 with Bowie and all that stuff. And I think that they were really influenced by the glam scene, and they came out of it. And you can hear it on that record. Well, you can hear it on all their records, I think. But, you know, Cherry Bomb it's punky, but it's glammy too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Definitely.
There is definitely an argument to be made that punk and glam are very closely associated, because there are the two of the other, we'll talk about this in a second. Two of the other punk records that are coming out at the time are very much sort of have a sort of glammy kind of edge to
Yeah.
it. But also, you talked about the Runaways. The Rolling Stones' Black and Blue's got a little bit of that sort of glam aesthetic in it as well.
Mhm.
So it's very much still there.
Yeah.
No, that Runaways record is fantastic, and that Runaways record paves the way for the Go-Go's, the Bangles, the Riot Girl movement,
So many
the
bands.
Yeahs, everything. It's sort of
Yeah.
it's a lot, and it's great.
Yep.
Well, since we've talked about some punk, and since Rob mentioned unique voices, Patti Smith,
Yes.
man. And I think last year when we did our 1975 show, I don't think we talked about her first album, Horses.
I don't think
And
so.
that is a huge oversight that we committed, and I'm sorry about that. But her second album comes out this year, Radio Ethiopia. And it is very definitely a continuation of what she was doing on her first album, but with the exception of she and their bass player were like, we want to see if we can be commercial. So they were still being very punky, and they're still writing sort of like longer, weirder songs, but they hire a producer that can sort of make these things sound more commercial. And it's a weird album. It's very interesting. It's got so many similarities from that first record with a little bit of different emphasis on it. And there were 3 singles released, Pissing in the River. So if you're trying to get commercial, that's not the first single you release, because ain't no radio station going to play something with that title. Second was Pumping, which was a good song.
Yeah.
But the most commercial song on the record, they didn't release until the 3rd single, and that's Ask the Angels. And that's such a weird choice to make. It's almost like we want to be commercial, but we want to be commercial in spite of the fact that we still want to be the Patti Smith group,
Good point.
So they're trying to do 2 different things at the same time. And it's a really, really great record to listen to. I really love it. And Ask the Angels is a really, really cool song.
I always think of this record when I think about Sonic Youth later with Goo, because they almost did the same thing. They wanted to be commercial, but still be sort of their own thing.
Yeah.
And very much this thing. So it's one of those records that's sort of like, this is if you're an artist, you want to straddle, still being indie relevant, but sell records. This is kind of the blueprint.
Yep.
All right. I'm just going to mention 2 honorable mentions of mine, I guess. Well, and it might be one of them might be one you want to talk about, Rob. So first is Wings at the Speed of Sound.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is their 5th album. They were right. It was released like when they were in the middle of the Wings Over America tour. Like they were huge at this point, Yeah. I know there's a little cheesiness on this album, but I still love it. I mean, silly love songs, you can say what you want about it, but it's still, wow. It's still a great pop song, and Let 'Em In. And so that's sort of honorable mention for me, which I love that album. And then also the first was it the first Blondie record? Yeah. It was.
Yeah. No, first. Yeah.
It was the first, because they released this on another album, another label, and that it didn't do anything. And then I guess it was Chrysalis or Sire did come out on time.
Chrysalis, I think. Yeah.
Okay. That this came out on. I like this album. It's not one of my favorites, but I love Rip Her to Shreds. I think if I was to say a song, Alan, to put on.
Me too. I love it.
Yeah.
Ex-Offender and Rip Her to Shreds is my 2 favorites.
Yeah.
Oh, love it.
So I didn't know, maybe Rob, if you had that was on your list.
I was waiting for you to take that.
Okay, well, sort of honorable mention.
Because when I think of Debbie Harry, I think of you.
Aw.
Wow. I'm going to jump back to the Wings album really quick.
Okay.
I just want to say that all along, Paul kept saying this is not Paul McCartney and a backing band. We are a real band, but still everything came from him. He sort of dictated all the things. This is the closest one that ever sounds like a band album, because it would always be like 10 McCartney songs, and then Denny Lane would get 1 song or 2 songs per album. This one, it's very much a shared load.
Right.
Linda gets a song, Jimmy McCulloch gets a song.
Yep.
Joe English sings lead on one of the songs, and Denny Lane gets a couple. So it really feels like a band record. It doesn't feel like a McCartney and Wings. It sounds like Wings.
Yep.
And I love it.
That's a good point. Yes.
Yeah, I'll just rapid fire a couple things at you. First of all, this is the year punk breaks. I think we talked about that before. But not necessarily albums, but the Damned release New Rose, the Sex Pistols release Anarchy in the UK, and we get the very first music from the Buzzcocks. All of this is like profoundly huge across the ocean and would have later ripples later, but we thought we'd at least mention that.
Mm-hmm.
Also, too, 1976 is pretty much fueled by disco and cocaine at this point, right? Our freedom and cocaine, actually, because it's the bicentennial. But it's all freedom and cocaine in 1976, right?
The freedom to take cocaine.
Yeah, exactly. So you get a number of like seminal records that people have heard of. You get Rubber Band Man by the Spinners, which
God, I love that song so
much.
much.
You get You'll Never Find by Lou Rawls.
Yeah,
you get Car Wash, right? You get Boogie Shoes and Shake 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 from Casey and the Sunshine Band. You get You Sexy Thing by Hot Chocolate. You get Don't Leave Me This Way by Thelma Houston, which is
what a great tune.
Yeah.
Just a fantastic, amazing, groundbreaking record. You get You Should Be Dancing by the Bee Gees, which is very much a precursor of what's to coming. You get Disco Party by the Tramps. You get Disco Lady by Johnny Taylor. You also get, and I think if Anthony were here, he would mention this too, you get Dancing Queen by ABBA.
Heck yeah. Which was their only #1 hit.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly.
There's so many singles that you think of them as being huge songs, but none of them were, most of them didn't even make top 10, which is shocking. But Dancing Queen, #1.
Yeah, and you get, a bunch of Donna Summer records that year, but you get Love Hangover by Diana Ross, which is just amazing. Turn the Beat Around by Vicky Sue Robinson.
Oh, yeah.
Theme from SWAT. I know we talked about this before. And, Don't Take Away the Music by Tavares. You get all of that stuff, as well as the aforementioned Don't Go Breaking My Heart. It's also the year, too. You get, I think, Steph, you're excited about this because you get, the Cassidy brothers are making records. At this point.
The Cassidy brothers are making records. Yeah, I had them. Yeah. I owned them.
Right. It's also the start of probably one of the most tragic eras of American pop music. But fortunately, it was very short-lived, and that is the Trucker record. And I mention it because it's off the piggyback of the Outlaw records that came out that year. We're not really diving into the country, but you had the Outlaw records. But you get Convoy by C.W. McCall, which is so big they made a movie out of it later.
That's true.
So, we got a trucking convoy.
Yeah, and then the last record I want to mention is Tom Waits' Small Change, his 4th album. Tom Waits is drinking like a madman at this point. You can tell if you listen to the record, but it's still probably one of his best records.
I think from this point on, we need to do a prog report and maybe continue the glam report, but we also need to start a disco report.
Yes.
Because from this point on, it becomes a huge thing for the rest of the 70s.
You're right.
Yeah.
So I just want to throw out a couple of singles that you did not mention.
I left a couple of things that I thought you would mention. So we'll see if we're...
No, these are not ones that are anybody would have thought of, but since you're talking about disco, you have to talk about the most iconic disco song ever. Disco Duck.
Yes.
Disco Duck.
Mr. Rick Dees. Yeah, he made more money off of that than he made in his entire career.
Oh, yes, by far. And then it's not a disco song, but I have to mention the whitest song about a sexual encounter ever recorded, Afternoon Delight.
I was going to try not to mention that, but okay.
It's so fucking bland that it makes you never want to have sex again. It's so bad. But that shit's going on our playlist because if we have to talk about it, people have to hear it.
That's
God,
hilarious.
It's so damn dreadful.
Yeah, I have to say the one good thing about that song is the very end when they're doing the cross harmonizations.
Yes.
And
the harmonies are great on that song. Yeah,
but it's so stupid. Yeah.
Okay, I want to wrap us up with my last pick, which is I started our show out with a live album. I want to end it with a live album, and that is Wings Over America. Holy shit.
Yeah.
It's a 3-record set. So sorry, Frampton Comes Alive. You were only a 2-record set. And this is like the definitive Wings album for me. And I think that it is like so many of these songs are much better in a live setting than they are in the original studio setting. And some of the ones from Wings at the Speed of Sound sound so much better live than they did on that record. Like Time to Hide is fantastic. And this whole, like the opening where they go back to Venus and Mars and Rock Show and then segue directly into Jet. God, I love that so much. Yeah. And it's one of my favorite live. And then in 1980, they released the film from that concert. It's called Rock Show. And that is one of my favorite concert films ever.
Wow. They were really just at the height of their game at this point, man. Absolutely.
And Paul, I've seen 2 different times. I should mention that I saw that new documentary.
Isn't it great?
It is so well.
It's amazing. Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. I loved it.
It's less than 2 hours. So they skip a lot and they sort of tell a few things out of order and it can't do everything. Yeah. So my thing is go read the book because the book is better. And I know you say that about movies all the time, but this is a documentary. The book was better because it's more thorough and it's in order and it's great.
But I need to read the book, but I would say if you're somebody that likes Wings, it's very enjoyable. But if you're someone that loves Wings, lives, eats and breathes it like Alan, it's very good.
Yeah. I did love it. I'm going to say, because it's shocking that some of that footage exists. You know, that somebody was carrying a camera around and kept that stuff all those years. But anyway, Wings Over America, great record. And I was going to say in 2 different times, I've heard Paul say that was the definitive lineup of the band. And he's absolutely right. Jimmy McCulloch was an amazing guitar player with an incredible tone. And unfortunately, he burned himself out way too fast and died of drugs not too long after this. And it's so sad.
Yeah.
Anyway, that
was fun.
Is 1976.
Freedom Train.
Freedom. Love it.
Oh my gosh.
And we didn't even talk about Mr. Microphone. Came out that year.
That's true. That's so funny, Mr. Microphone. Oh my God. Hey, good looking. We'll be back to pick you up later. In fact, that's what I'm using to record tonight. I've got my Mr. Microphone that I'm speaking into. All right. So thank you all so much for listening. If you want to let us know what your favorite songs from 1976 is, or favorite albums, or favorite artists, or whatever, like I said earlier, drop us a line at modernmusicology1@gmail.com, or find us on the socials and drop us a comment when you see this episode posted. And thank you all so much for listening. Now, next episode, I think we're going to be talking about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame list of nominees for this year.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Got problems.
We got problems?
I got problems with it. Yeah.
Oh, well.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to say, if we do that, that's 2 weeks from now. It'll be 3 weeks when that episode comes out. That might be about time that the inductees are announced. So, I don't know. But maybe anyway.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah, maybe. But we'll just do it anyway because we don't have anything else planned. So
yeah.
So we have a lot to say about the inductees this year. And everybody join us for that. Until then, take care and keep rocking on.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping at the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.